Hi, I'm Jessica Taylor from Ink It Up with Jessica, and in this video, I'm going to show you how to make this groovy roller skate card. Let's start with the stamping because I like to let my ink set a bit before I color in my images. When I saw this fun roller skate stamp in the new curved occasion stamp set from Stampin' Up, I knew that I had to have it, and my first thought was, will it fit inside this Celebrate circle from the Circle Saying stamp set that I helped design? I was thrilled when the answer was, yes, it does. I found it's easiest for me to stamp the Celebrate first and then the roller skate inside. So I like to just put the Celebrate stamp down so that it stays in a circle when I add it to my block. Then I'm going to use Tahitian Tide. And we'll just ink that up and stamp it on some basic white cardstock. Next, we'll grab the Melon Mambo ink pad and stamp the roller skate inside. So the only thing that I kind of think about is where I want my Celebrate to fall. So kind of for this one, I had it so that it would be right above the roller skate. It doesn't really matter, but if you want to think about that, you can. So I'll ink that up and then just make sure that my roller skate is falling inside of the circle so that it doesn't cover any letters. And there we go. Okay, now I'm going to set this aside so that this ink can set a little bit before I color in my roller skate. And we're going to work on the rest of the card. I'm using basic white thick cardstock for the card base because it's just a little bit sturdier. And to quickly get 2 card bases out of one sheet, I'm going to score it at 4 1/4 inches. The scoring blade is the lighter gray one on the Stampin' Trimmer. And then I'll turn it and cut it at 5 1/2 inches. And then I have 2 card bases. We'll go ahead and fold that, just matching up the opposite corners. Give it a good crease with the bone folder. And there is my card base. Next, I have a piece of Melon Mambo cardstock that is 4 inches by 5 1/4 inches for the background. And I'm going to emboss just the bottom half of this with these fun circles. This is an embossing folder from the Cheery Pattern set, and it's a mini embossing folder, as you can see, so it's thinner, which means that it's easier to emboss just half or part of your cardstock. So I've got my cut and emboss machine here. And for these folders, these are just regular thin folders. I'm going to use the number 1 platform, a number 3 cutting plate. Even though we're embossing, sometimes you use those. And then I will just put my paper in my folder. And it's actually easier for this one to put it through this way. However way it fits is fine. And then I'll put another number 3 on top and we'll run that right through. So there you can see that it just made circles on my cardstock. While I have my embossing machine out, I'm going to emboss some Tahitian Tide cardstock with one of the Geometric Patterns folders. This is also a mini folder. We're going to use the same sandwich, so a 1 and a 3. Then I've just cut a 1-inch strip that I'm going to put on the striped section of this folder. And it doesn't matter too much if it stays straight because we're going to be punching this out. And then another number 3 on top of that, and we'll run this through. So you can see that that just added some fun texture. Next, I'm going to grab the curved label punch. And this actually coordinates with the curved occasion stamp set. And you can get it in a bundle to save 10%. So you just want to push that button up so that you can punch. I'm going to punch 2 out of this striped piece. And then I'm going to punch 2 just out of Parakeet Party cardstock. This is not embossed. And then we have all of our bits and pieces. So let's go back to our stamped image. I'm going to put just a piece of scratch paper underneath where I'm coloring because I'm using Stampin' Blends and those tend to bleed through the cardstock. I'm going to color first with Stampin' Blends, Tahitian Tide, and Parakeet Party, and each color comes with a light and a dark. I like to start with the lighter one, and I prefer the brush tip. You can use whichever tip that you want. There's no right or wrong way. So I'm going to go ahead and color this stripe here with the Tahitian Tide. So this is the light, and then I can come back with the dark and just add a little bit of shading. So you wouldn't have to do that. It just gives it a little extra dimension, I think. And then as that dries, it'll kind of smooth out the color a little bit more. Then we'll come to the Tahitian Tide, and it does say light or dark on the side, in case some of the colors it's harder to tell. So I'm gonna go ahead and color the little stopper down here. I love to roller skate. I used to roller skate a lot when I was younger. But even I've gone within the last few years too. It's just so much fun. Okay, then I'm gonna take the darker one and again, just kind of add some shading. This is gonna even out some as it dries. And I think that looks good. So now I'm done with my Stampin' Blends markers. And I'm gonna switch over to my Wink of Stella. I love this. This is just a clear glitter brush. So I'm gonna use it to add some glitter to my skates. So you can see when you go over, like when I went over the Melon Mambo, I was not careful, like I was when I did this card. If you go over the ink that you've stamped, it will smear it if you've stamped with a color like this. So you might wanna be careful of that. I did not do that in this one. This one, I might just do it a little more so that it looks like I did it on purpose and it kind of highlights that pink. And then I also want to make sure that I catch down here so my skates are all sparkly. So much fun. I love it. Okay, then for my wheels, if I would have had Melon Mambo Stampin' Blends markers, I probably would have colored the wheels in with that. But since I didn't, I'm going to use my Melon Mambo ink pad. If you don't have any ink in the lid, if you just kind of squeeze your ink pad together, some ink will pool up there. And I just took my Wink of Stella to pick up some of that ink and then use that to color in the wheels. So you'll pick up more ink if you want them to be darker and less ink if you want them to be a little bit lighter. Really, I just want my wheels to be the same shade if I can get them the same shade. So these are a little bit lighter. But there you go. And then when you've used color on your Wink of Stella, you just want to run it on scratch paper until it's clear again. Now I'm going to grab the 2 3/8 inch circle punch. This coordinates with the Circle Saying stamp set, and they also come in a bundle. So you can save 10% when you get them both together. So I'm just going to center the Celebrate in my circle and punch it out. Okay, now that we have all our pieces, we can assemble. I'm going to start by taping the pink to my white card base, and I want my circles to be raised. So the outline of the circle to be raised. So I'm gonna flip it over and put the tape on this side. And I like to be generous with my double-sided tape because there's nothing worse than spending your time making a handmade card and then having it fall apart. So whatever adhesive you use, make sure it's one that keeps your cards together. Okay, so I should have done something before I did that. Shoot. When I made this card, first I put these pieces on so that I could trim the edges straight. So this is going to be a little trickier. But when I make mistakes, you learn better tips. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to keep this edge lined up, even though for this one I trimmed the edge after I glued it on. So we'll just go like that. It's going to be totally fine. So let me add some tape to the back of this piece. And then that looks about right-ish. So I'm just going to line that up like so, so that edge is straight. And then I'll do the same thing with one of the Parakeet Party ones. I just want to make sure it lines up. So one of the reasons that I cut off the ends is that when you don't cut off the very ends, there's a little bit of a gap. It's not a big deal, but when you line these up, see how there's just a little pink peeking through? I did not want that, but it's okay. It's still gonna be just fine. So I'm gonna go like that. And then I just wanna make sure that I'm thinking about which way I want this to go. So I want it to go like this. And I'm actually gonna cut this piece here because this is gonna be underneath my roller skate, and then I can use this for another card. So we'll go like that. And let me add some tape to the back of this piece. And then it doesn't so much matter if I line it up here because the circle is going to cover that. I really want to make sure that I have it lined up with this edge. So we'll go like that. And then same with this one. I want to just make sure for this one that I'm putting the tape on the proper side so that it'll line up right. Make sure that those are lined up on the edge. So again, you can see like it just leaves a little pink spot showing through if you don't go off the ends. And then for this the Wink of Stella might not be totally dry yet, so let me just put it on there so I don't get Wink of Stella everywhere. And then I'm going to use a few Stampin' Dimensionals on the back of my roller skate. And then I'll put that right over top of my waves. And then gently push that down so that the dimensionals will stick. So you can see, even when you make the same exact card, they don't always turn out exactly the same. So it's okay to make more than one of a card when you come up with a design you like. Want more tips for coloring in your stamped images? Watch this video next.